But anyways, this workshop is focused on creating discussion boards with Harmonize, which is our new discussion tool that integrates into Blackboard. So it doesn't replace Blackboard discussions, but it is another tool that we can use. So today I was just going to focus on basically recapping everyone on what Harmonize is in case you were not familiar, and then we were going to move into actually creating those discussions. So I'm going to show us how to do it in the original course view, and then how to create the discussions in the Ultra course view, since we do have some classes in original still, and then moving more towards Ultra. And then lastly, I want to discuss some of the important features that I think Harmonize has, which are different from Blackboard's discussion features. So some of those are automatic grading, you can assign multiple due dates, video replies, and then automated closed captioning for those replies. And so before I move over to Blackboard, I kind of just wanted to talk about what is Harmonize and what are some of those features that Blackboard doesn't have. So to start, Harmonize really helps streamline grading because you can assign multiple due dates, and there is auto grading for students who participated or those who did not. Harmonize also really helps increase student engagement because students can now add video replies as well as the text replies, and they can also react to posts such as like a social media, like thumbs up or smile or this is helpful type of thing. And then they can also tag classmates and the instructor. So those are some social media styled features that Harmonize has brought into the discussion board interface. And then lastly, Harmonize really helps students encourage their creativity because students can now annotate images that they upload, and they can upload other media content such as more images, videos, YouTube links, and those types of media that is now more supported in Harmonize. So those are just some features I wanted to highlight as we move through today's workshop because I will be pointing those out. And those are really the main features that differ from Blackboard's discussions that are currently available for instructors to use. So that being said, I will move over to Blackboard so I can show us how we can actually create these. So like I said, I'm going to walk us through how to create the discussion board in the original in case that you do have courses still in original and maybe you do have some in Ultra. So I'll quickly walk us through that process, and then I'll jump on over to the Ultra course view and show us how to create the discussions over there. And like I said, this tool, the Harmonize tool, does not replace Blackboard's discussions. So please feel free to continue to use discussions in Blackboard, but this is just another tool that is integrated into Blackboard in case you want to use it to create a little bit more of engaging discussion boards for students. So today I'm going to show us how to create it in the original course. So I'm already in the coursework page, as this should be where all of students' coursework is built. And typically to build an item, page, document, anything like that, image, you're going to go to this Build Content tab. And that is the same area that you are going to go to build the Harmonized discussion. So instead of going over to Tools to build like the discussion board in Blackboard, you're going to go to the Build Content option over here. And then all the way at the bottom, there's the Harmonized discussion topic. So that's what you're going to click on to build the discussion. And like I said, it's integrated right into Blackboard. So I'm going to click there. And feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions, comments, or anything, since it is a very small group of one. So this is the Harmonize page that will pop up. I think Harmonize recently had an update to the tool, so now you have some other options such as a Q&A, a topic Q&A, and a communication center. But the one we're going to focus on for this workshop is just this discussion option. So that's what I'm going to click on. So I'm saying I'm going to add this one, and then I'm going to create a new discussion right here with this blue button. So as you would with a Blackboard discussion board, you're just going to name your discussion. So I'm going to name say mine is favorite piece of technology. You're just going to name it there, and this is just the title, so you don't have to put instructions or anything in this location, as you'll have another spot for that further on. So now you can decide if you want this to be a graded or not graded assignment, but for the purpose of this workshop, I'm going to choose this graded option, but you can toggle between these two, and you'll notice that the points disappear if you choose not graded. And then you can choose the point value. You can either type it in or use these up and down arrows to choose how many points you want this discussion to be worth. So once all of that is set, you're going to go over here and hit this Create Discussion button. And now you'll notice that it processed everything and it brought me right back to the page I was on. And so when that happens, it's basically telling you that the initial discussion has been created, but now to go back and edit it, like to put the instructions and any other content you want, you will have to just click back on it. So I'm going to click on here, the title. I'm going to wait for Harmonize to launch, and then this is where you as the instructor can post the instructions, post settings, due dates, and all that stuff. So the first part up here I'm going to focus on is this option to show the show when it's available, but then you also have the ability to put a due date. So as it is in Blackboard, you can click on the little calendar and choose your due date, your availability. It automatically will pick a time, but you can change that, scroll through, and so on. Maybe you want it to be due at midnight or available at midnight. And then you have the option to choose your due date. So same thing, you can use the calendar and the time over here to change that as you would. And then you can also adjust when it's going to disappear or when it's available until. So once you're done setting the availability, you're going to move down here to this first box, which is called the instructions. So this is your view as the instructor. So this is where you're going to want to post your instructions. Now, this is where Harmonize gets a little different, because whenever you're replying or adding in content, either as a student or as the instructor, you have some other options for adding content. So typically we are used to adding instructions solely in like text-based written out instructions. However, in Harmonize, you now have the option to still put in text. So I could type in here, please discuss the topic, and so on. So I could type it in right there. Or I can use these little icons down here on this little toolbar to actually add in other media. So like I said, we can put in our text instructions, but I could also drag and drop a file from my computer. Say I have the instructions written out on another file and I want to put it here, I can do that. If I want to upload other media, I can click on this little picture icon. Say I wanted to add a link to a video that is part of my instructions, I could do that. And you can also add record audio or video. So that would actually just allow me to record myself and then post it to the instructions. So that's something very different with Harmonize, is that it's a recording device built into Harmonize, which I think is really cool. Then we have, we can schedule meetings and then add polls to the instructions. So whenever you click on one, say I want to hit add media, it will just add a new building block down here, and then it will continue to add on. So those are the different options I just wanted to show you before we got any further. So let's say I added my instructions and all is good. Then I'm going to move over to my post settings. Here we have some settings that are different from Blackboard's discussions. So to start something that's similar is this first one, which says hide all posts and comments from students who have not yet posted. So Blackboard still has that option in their discussions. You can make sure that students read your instructions and post first before they see their peers' responses. And this kind of helps encourage students' own creativity and own critical thinking skills, because they won't be able to see anyone else's comments until they post themselves. So that's an option you still have. But this is something that's new. It allows students to add annotations. So if a student uploads an image, they can actually annotate it with the little like pencil and marker icon. I can show us that later, but that's an option they have. So as the instructor, you can go through here and check and uncheck all these different options for your discussion board that you're creating. So we also have the reaction settings. So that's something I mentioned earlier. That's kind of like a social media styled interface feature that Harmonize is trying to bring in. So I can show us that a little bit after too, but that's an option you have. So if you don't want that, you can check that. So like I said, you can go through these and make sure that all the settings are to how you would like. Something that's different is this anonymous posting. So say you didn't want students' names to be listed, all the students won't see each other's names. So that's an option. We also have visibility settings. So this is cool because you can either make it a traditional discussion board, which is making it visible to everyone, or you could make the discussion private between you and the student. So that's more of like a, I would say kind of like a journal. Yes, Natasha. So I believe if you post this, you'll be able to see the students' names. Yeah. So I just moused over that and it said instructors will still be able to choose to comment anonymously. So you can also post that, but you as the instructor will be able to see it. I think just all the students cannot see each other's names if you choose that. But I can double check on that just to be sure for you after today's session. So the next one we have is this default layout. So the grid and the list differ because the list is more of just a linear discussion board that we're used to, whereas the grid, I will show you in a little bit, is more like tiles. So it shows each student's response in a little square rather than a list format. And then you can choose the default language for the automatic closed captionings. So those are your post settings. Just trying to highlight the ones that are different from Blackboard's. So next we have this milestone, due date, and auto grading. So I'm going to click on this add milestone to show you all. But this is a great feature because it really allows you to specify what you want students to complete on which days. So let's just say I added a milestone. You can change this. Say you need students to have one post done 5 days before the due date. You can make that a requirement so that students are being encouraged to come into the discussion way before it's actually due. Because, you know, sometimes we have those students who wait until the very last day to comment, and then the other students don't really have anything to respond to or interact with. So this milestone functionality is great because it will start to really encourage more student engagement between peers, and it will give students the ability to interact more. So you could say you want students to have one post and maybe 2 comments or something, you know, you can change that. And then you can add another milestone. So say you want something due on the due date, you can add a post. So of course you would just want to adjust these milestones based on your own requirements, but this is a really cool tool to think about utilizing when you're building a harmonized discussion. And then we also have auto grading. Yes, thank you, Dawn, for finding that. So auto grading basically gives students points for participating. So although you will still have to go in as the instructor and grade students' responses based on the content, you could choose this auto grading to grade the discussions based on whether or not students even participated. So that's another option you have. And then, like I said, you can just adjust that as you go through. Then lastly, up here, we have the student facilitators. And this allows you to identify students that you want to facilitate the discussion. Harmonize, I think, is still working on this feature, so you can learn more about it here and see how you can utilize that tool. But it's always a default setting, so if you don't toggle it on, it won't be turned on automatically. So those are a brief overview of all the features and settings you have when you're actually setting up the discussion. And so once you're done, you're going to hit this save and close. So I'm going to do that for now, but before we get any further with Harmonize, I just want to jump over to Ultra and show us how you would build this in Ultra. So this was an original, so I have an Ultra course open over here. And again, I'm going to scroll down to my coursework folder because that is typically where all the students' course content is created. I'm going to go into, let's say, this folder here. You'll see we have a bunch already created. And Harmonize and Ultra is represented by this little rocket icon because it's launching something into the Harmonize tool. So if you're not familiar with Ultra, in order to create something, you're going to hover over the content area and look for this purple plus sign. So I'm going to click here, and then instead of clicking Create, I'm going to actually go to the Content Market, since Harmonize is considered a third-party source. And I'm going to scroll down to Harmonize Discussion. And these are all in alphabetical order, so you would just look for H and then find Harmonize. And once I click here, it will launch the exact same screen I just walked us through. So the only main difference between the original course view and the Ultra course view is the actual creation of it. But once Harmonize launches, you're good to go. The interface will look exactly the same, whether your students are in Original or Ultra. So I'm going to pause here. Do we have any questions about how I created the discussions or anything thus far that I've talked about? Okay, well, I will keep going. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or turn on your microphone. So that is the two ways that you would create a harmonized discussion, whether it be in Original or Ultra. So now I'm going to go back to the one I just created over here. And so this is the screen that students will see. And I'm actually going to open up one that has some more content in it. So let's say, let's do maybe this one. So it launches, and then here is the screen that students will see as well as yourself as the instructor. So let's just say I wanted to actually edit these instructions again. What I would do is you're going to look at this upper toolbar and you'll see this edit option. So this is where you can click, and then it will take you back to that screen I was just walking us through. So you'll see in this one, we have our text-based instructions, and then we also have a YouTube video, which is linked up with the little link icon. So I used the link one, or we used a link one to create this. And then it's displayed kind of in a wider format, but that is just a YouTube video. So if you click on it, you'll see how it's played directly in here. So Harmonize is fairly intuitive with the instructions it gives you to create things, as you can see here. Students can also click on here and collapse the instructions. So if they don't want to continue reading them, they can click here. So collapse and expand it. They have their instructions here. And then they'll scroll down a little bit, and this is where students will actually create their post. So I'm going to walk us through that a little bit as well. But before we get any further, I did want to just mention how how if you do build a discussion board, a harmonized discussion, it actually will link up to your Blackboard gradebook. So anything that's happening in Harmonize in terms of grades will then be synced up with Blackboard. So that's another really great feature of Harmonize, is that it does work well with Blackboard, and it will pull those grades into the gradebook. So that's why you see this grades and activity up here. That's where you'll go to look at the grades and what students are participating in. So I'm going to scroll down again and walk us through what students would do to create a post. So they would click here on this little hyperlink. And then you'll notice that they also have the similar text boxes and media that we just walked through. But so students are going to put a subject, so they can just put title of it. And then they also have this tagging feature, which is something I briefly mentioned in the beginning of today's session. But this is, again, another type of social media styled feature. So students can actually click here and then find their students and click and tag them if they were mentioning them, or if it was a group discussion and they were replying back to someone. So, and when you tag someone, the student that is being tagged gets that notification. So it continues to keep the students engaged and pulls them back into Harmonize with those notifications. And so students will have the same ability to, they can either type out their responses, they can use files, flag a question for the teacher over here, and so on. So I'm going to just show us, let's see if I can add a media and show us how to annotate something. So I'm going to click here, see if I have a picture I could pull up. I got a Camtasia one, yeah. So let's say I'm pulling in this Camtasia picture. And you'll notice now, if a student uploaded it, it's going to come in this little thumbnail sized. Grid is what I was mentioning earlier, how there's like the list in the grid format. But now let's say a student is responding, but they also want to annotate this image to show their classmates something to do with the post. There's this little annotate bubble down here. So if I click there, it should pop up. And then this is where you have a toolbar over here. And you can do this as well as the instructor. But you can click on these different tools and you can actually draw on these pictures. So let's say I was trying to point to this in the image. And then I wanted to, highlight something over here and so on. This is really awesome, really for any subject. It could be great for an art class, science, English, anything where you're trying to highlight or identify something in an image. So I know this picture is doesn't do with the discussion topic, but I just wanted to show us that annotation feature because that is something that you currently cannot do in the Blackboard discussions. So just wanted to highlight that for us so that you are aware of that and you can actually show your students that that is an option because they may not have found that on their own. So then when you're done annotating, you can either delete it or you can click save. So I'm going to hit save here. And then it will show a little bubble that says it's been annotated and that it's been saved. So once you start working in Harmonize, you'll see that you and your students have all of the same functions and features for responding to a post with these different options. So I'm going to hit publish for now, just so I can show you how it shows up in this grid format. So you can actually toggle between the grid or the list view, which is something similar to Blackboard Ultra, where you can actually change the view that you're looking at something based on your preference. So if I click on the list, it shows more of just a linear discussion. So if someone commented, it would just come down here, and then the next post would just follow along. And that's probably something you're familiar with in Blackboard discussions. but the grid view actually allows students to see a quick glance of any pictures uploaded, images, videos, and then it will just continue to show the bunch of, I guess we can call them cards. And then you can see the comments, who's tagged, all that stuff, all at one glance. So those are the two different features that you, or views that you can choose between. So again, any questions? I'll pause here about some of the features I've been showing us.
Jamie, I know with regular discussion boards, you can set it to where students have to post an original post before they can view posts, or they can just view other posts. The way that I'm looking at Harmonize, does the student have to initiate the first post?
No, so if you go back in here on the edit option, in the post settings, there's this first one that you can check.
Okay.
So it said hide. So yeah,
Okay.
if you wanted students to not see anything, that's when you would check it. But
Okay.
since they're, yeah. So does that help?
It does, yes. So the way that we're looking at it, it's not hiding all posts. So would the student's post be underneath that?
So say I student, let me come back out of here. So now let's say I posted and I'm coming in as a student, they would just see this person's post and then they would post theirs by clicking here.
Gotcha.
I can see, yeah, of course. I'm going to try to find one that we've created that has more responses, and that probably will make more sense. So those are the basic features, but I'm going to move over to, let's find our other one that we did. So our team, Brantley, Dawn, and I did this, and Jennifer McBride did this how to give a pain-free shot. And I'm just going to show you this one so that you can see the other students' responses. So the instructor posted the text instructions, they posted a video with other instructions, and now if I'm coming in as a student, I will already see these students' responses, and then I would just go in and click my create post. So again, students would just click there, and then they would see the other students' responses, and they can change between the list and the grid view. So this is what the list view would look like. They can just scroll through, see the different options, and so on, or different responses. And something I wanted to highlight again is this, again, the social media features that Harmonize offers. And one of those is that React button. So you'll see if I highlight over the React, there is this is helpful, good point, I agree. So there's these different reactions that students can engage with besides posting a comment or posting their own response. And I think that is mainly the goal of Harmonize, is to add these different features such as videos and reactions, images. All of that media really will help students engage more in their discussions, because sometimes the discussions in Blackboard are a little bit linear, and if students don't know that they can add images or YouTube links and stuff, it can get a little bit just text-based, and Harmonize is really trying to emphasize the use of media and pulling students in with the reactions, tagging, and all that fun stuff. And so the last feature I did want to highlight is the use of automated closed captions. So I'll show us Jennifer's video. But basically, whenever you record a video in Harmonize, and you can do that by clicking on that video button at the bottom where the toolbars were, and I can show us that again. But whenever you actually record a video, the interface will start to automatically populate the closed captionings. So this is really great for accessibility and makes it a lot easier on the instructor, because if you want to upload, and I think even if you upload a video of your own that wasn't created in Harmonize, closed captions will be added as well. But you'll see here with this closed captioning, the CC, I can turn that on and off. but Harmonize actually starts to populate those right away. So let me play that for a second.
Hi class, today we're going to learn how to give a shot. First,
so you'll see that it's pretty accurate, and these will just start to appear once a video is uploaded, so you don't even have to worry about adding closed captions to make videos accessible. And that is a reason why we've really loved Harmonize, because we were able to upload those videos and we didn't have to worry, like when you do YouTube or other sources, you'd have to add those captions yourself. So Harmonize will just populate those on their own, and they're automated, and it's really helpful for accessibility. So you'll see as you go.
You want to take a clean alcohol swab and clean the skin off.
So you'll see as each video goes, and if you play around with Harmonize yourself, you'll see that after, I think it takes like only a couple minutes, you'll see those captions appear. So that's another really awesome feature. So if you did want to add a video, I just wanted to show us again, like Jennifer did, you would just hit this little record button, and then you can choose the audio or the video recorder. And then, my camera's off right now, but you'll see a little preview of yourself, hit record. You have 5 minutes to, you have a 5-minute max to record the videos. And then the second you're done, it will create those closed captions. So wherever this video is posted, students can just see the captions. So I think that's a really great thing. And besides the captions, the video is really helpful because now we have the opportunity to engage with students in a way that's not just text-based. So you could actually use the video recorder to give students instructions. You could explain the whole assignment through video and text if you want to make it accessible, but you have other options now with Harmonize for engaging with students. So if you want to feel like you're on a more personal level with them and kind of interacting with them more, you could have you record a video, and then students can record videos back. So that's a really great tool that we're trying to encourage, because with online learning, we want to feel like we're engaging with our students. So I'm going to hit delete on that one and just come back to this page. And so those are really the main features for actually posting and then listing the instructions for students. Harmonize does a really great job, as I said before, with giving you instructions on how to do things. You'll see those little question marks throughout, and it kind of explains what that feature is. So I think I would encourage you guys to just go out there and play around with Harmonize. It's already available in both Original and Ultra, and it has been for several months. So definitely feel free to play around with it and see if you can make a fun discussion. And so the last thing I want to show us is just this grades and activity tab that you have as the instructor. So I'm going to click here, and you'll notice that this is where you can see each student and their topic activity, and then what's going on in the Harmonized discussion. So this, if you have been working in in Ultra, this kind of looks similar to how the grading works there. But up here you have the student's name, and you can use these arrows to go through each student and see the different activity that's going on. So you can go through each student there and see. You can also see how many posts, comments, reactions, and annotations they have contributed to the discussion. And then same thing, you can see how many responses were received. You can see what percentage of so they have completed, if you've put in milestones, and everything like that. So this is a really helpful way to easily grade. And if you remember in the beginning, I mentioned how Harmonize really helps streamline grading, because it will list out those posts, list out those comments, so you can easily see you know, what's going on. Ooh, did not mean to do that. Okay, so back here. So I'm going to go back to our assignment. And it's kind of hard right now because we don't have real students in here to play around with. We were just adding in our own students, but you can definitely play around with the grading and everything like that. And just experiment and see what works for you and adjust those settings as you feel fit. But that's really all I wanted to cover today. I didn't want to get too in-depth because Harmonize really is a tool that the more you continue to explore, the more different little features and settings you can play around with. So I will end there for the actual features I wanted to highlight, but do we have any other comments or questions about Harmonize? I know we do have a small group, so feel free to ask any questions. So if we don't have any questions, like I said, this is where I am gonna stop here because I don't want to get too in-depth with all the different features, but I really just wanted to highlight the most important ones.